So I've tried to figure out how to protect the blueberry plants. I have a bunch of small blueberry plants in different areas. So I've finally come up with this. I had some leftover chicken wire. This particular blueberry is pretty tall. I would say a little over 3 feet. So it's a little bent on the top, but all the flowers have already been pollinated by the bees. But using chicken wire, it's big enough for the bees to get in, but not the birds. So I just had some extra pieces of wood, rolled out this piece of chicken wire, and stapled this in. Stapled the chicken wire to the pieces of wood. There's 3 pieces of wood. One part here is standing by itself, holding up this blueberry plant, and you can see the little blueberries right through the netting so it can get water, air, but the birds hopefully won't try to get into it. Squirrels have also been digging into my raised bed on this side. That particular blueberry plant didn't have any flowers, and so I'm not gonna worry about protecting it for this season. And there's a second plant that has like 2 or 3 different shoots there, and it still has flowers. So I'm confident that this will be big enough. I've seen a couple of different types of bees going in here. And then this one, it looks like the I didn't put chicken wire on here. I used this tool that I had purchased a roll on eBay. I also noticed that this tool is out. This green is out of stock, but it's less obvious being that it's like that. I can still see it from the kitchen window. And I had that PVC piping that I put over on my other beds. I just decided to use it on this because there's just too many blueberries actually that are on this little plant, and I don't have it on a piece of wood to kind of as a stake. So I'm just gonna leave it like this, and if I feel that if I see more flowers, I will probably put some type of chicken wire on that one. So there's 2, 3 plants, 4 plants on that side, but 3 of them that have had flowers and now have berries. So on this side, I had this extra piece of a smaller type of what do they call this? I don't know why they call it hardware cloth, but this is probably too small. These little squares are too small for bees to get through. So I just used it temporarily because the flowers look like they've all fallen off, and there are blueberries in there. So the blueberries, this is the first time that I've had blueberries come out of my plants. I planted some blueberries the first year, and then last year the first batch of blueberries wasn't that good, so the plants. So this last year I ordered online from Stark Brothers, and that's these plants. So this is the second year that I've had them, and this one looks kind of strange. I took a dollar store waste basket that's made out of this metal mesh, cut it on the bottom. I was actually going to use it to surround some probably my apple trees. That's what I'll use this for, because I need more structure up here, and I only had that little piece of wood. So and there's some ants in there, but the blueberries, if it'll focus, the blueberries are coming out, and I don't see any flowers. So ants can also pollinate, so we'll leave that like that. This one here, same thing, where I just put netting. I don't even have the netting attached to anything. it was just to protect the birds, because there's tons of birds here, and I'm concerned as soon as they ripen, the birds will attack these plants. I need to figure out what blueberry plant this is, because I really like the color of the leaves. It's much darker. Here's the blueberries. And this one I put a stake on, and I just wrap this around it to protect the berries. But this one had a couple of flowers. Now it just has one flower. So I want to leave that open so that the bees could, we have different types of bees. We also have some wasp around, but wanted that one to get pollinated. These are supposedly, I think they said they're self-pollinating, but you should have 2 to 3 varieties. So from the little that I've read, I leave them open when they're flowering and then close them. I'm just doing this now when the flowers have come off. But I don't know if it's an ongoing thing for these berries. They all flowered at the same time. Right now it is the middle or third week. Is it third week of May? The apple tree here, this is from the first year. So this is a 3-year-old tree that started off as a graft, and it's just a piece of, it was an apple connected to a miniature or dwarf graft. And I need to transplant this apple tree because I think it did have flowers, and then all the flowers died, probably because it wasn't getting enough nutrients. I just haven't had time to try to figure out where to plant this particular apple tree, because it would be too close if I had it here. But I could put it in the middle and just attach it to wood or T-posts to try to do, I forgot what they call it, but they train the apple tree to grow along like that cattle panel type of wire. So I might cut that cattle panel. I have an extra one back there to fit it on there, or I'll make another 4x8, 2 more on this side, because there's too much shade here from this tree in the morning. In the winter it gets nothing, or barely any sun, because the sun kind of moves over on that side and will put sun on mainly the 2 beds going this way. So these beds, right now I still have my seedlings growing, but I just transplanted a bunch of carrots. I did individual carrots there, and then I got, it was getting late, so I just stuck in a bunch of carrots. Now I have a hard time growing carrots, so I started off in a little seed tray, and they say carrots don't transplant well because when you transplant them, the roots, which become your carrots, can grow sideways. I'm fine with however they grow. I just want them to try to grow. So I took individual carrots, made a bunch of holes, stuck them all in there, and then I just drew a line here and put a bunch in here. I still have 2 more little 4x4 containers where a lot of my carrots had sprouted. So I'm gonna try and put them on here. I put them in here. I don't know how many days the carrots will take, because it's going into summer, but it's mainly because I already had this kind of plastic barrier going around. Later, I will put this 2-foot chicken wire around these 2 beds. In here will go crawling type of plants. So I'm gonna try and grow cantaloupe, other melons. I don't know if I have enough time in the season, because a lot of things take over 90 days, and even though this is the later May, we will start getting cold temperatures. We still have temperatures in the 40s. What is my dog chewing on? Oh, this is a big golden retriever who took out the bird seed. These little, this is my trash can. suet things, and she likes the smell of it. So she's a big golden bird. Anyway, so I'm going to transplant the melons. Actually, they're like cantaloupes and pumpkin, smaller pumpkins. I'm going to try and grow here. I also just ordered a bunch of seeds from a couple of other places for Korean melons, which are smaller, which will be easier to grow on a trellis like this. As soon as those come in, I have to grow it by seed because they don't sell transplants for that. Anyway, I'm going to put the 2-foot chicken wire around this to prevent the bunnies and the big golden bunnies from coming in. And then I'm going to have this small little gap right here. So I have these 2 pieces of wood. This doesn't need to be that high, but that's what I had. So the 2-foot is going to go around, similar to the big one over there. That's my potato cage. And then I'll have this gap here, and I'll have to make a sort of door. This is a very small gap for me to step in. Like, here's my foot. And so that isn't even 12 inches. I don't think so. But it is enough for me to stand here or kneel down and tend to this side of the garden, do any planting I need to. I'm going to make it where I might make it where I can remove this whole side, and it will just hook onto here. It's not really going to be stapled on, because that's also what I did on the other side. I'll show that in a little bit. But it's only going to be 2 feet high, so I'll still be able to reach in from this way or reach from this way if I want to prune the plant or pick fruit or that kind of thing. Okay, so this side is not planted, except for in the middle I think I put beets. Same thing right here. I put a bunch of beets here, and so I still need to plant this side. It's going to have transplants, and that side's going to have transplants. This whole bed, I think I put beans on that side, and I had over soaked the beans, so I didn't know if the beans were actually going to even come up. So whatever doesn't come up, I'm going to just plant in between. This is sorrel, which I only can eat a few of these. I'd grown a bunch of it, not knowing what it tasted like, but it works great as a chop and drop to compost in here. This is all garlic. So this is cool. This is the top of the garlic. I had grown some garlic just off of buying organic garlic from Trader Joe's, and then taking it apart, taking the heads apart and planting that. I need to transplant, I need to get some more soil, corn that I had started in here. You can direct sow corn, but because I didn't have any barrier up here, the squirrels were just digging everything up and eating the corn seeds. These are, I think, it's a flower. I want to see it's Nasandrum. I don't know what these are. But there's flowers planted here. I also threw in the compost cantaloupe. What's funny is a whole bunch of them had sprouted. So I might take this cantaloupe. I don't know what it will be like because it was from the store and it was not organic. And I threw, as you can see, I threw in the cantaloupe with the seeds in here, and then I realized, oh, I should take that out and throw it in our backyard area because it could sprout, and it did sprout. So I'm going to let it sprout. I'll let it continue to grow, and then I'm going to transplant the cantaloupe, probably a couple of them over there, and see how that goes. This particular one is I had a little bit left over of this. I think this is 36-inch chicken wire. And I had seen somebody just get this pieces of wood, and I screwed it to the frame of the raised bed just enough where it could try to prevent a squirrel or some animal to get in here. I mean, there's still a gap, so if they really want to, they could. And then I put screws on the bottom here to try to hold this part towards closer to the bed frame. Like this side only has one. And then I had this idea of doing, I was going to put 2 feet of chicken wire here, but then I realized, oh, I can just use this tall one, because people will do the Ruth Stout method of just throwing potatoes into hay or straw and letting it grow in the straw. So there's a bunch of potatoes all under here. They're all sprouting. They're all green coming up. The squirrels or the rabbits were only eating the sweet potato. I don't think, I might have some sweet potato in here. So I just decided to do a higher chicken wire here because I had it. And then I bought 2 bales of straw. Straw is cleaner than and lasts a little bit longer than hay. But anyway, so I just put it on the top, and as the green leaves start coming out for the potatoes, I'll continue to throw straw up here all the way up to the top if I want to, because it's all being held in with this chicken wire. It'll get air going through, and we'll see how that goes, because this will be a new experiment for me. I grew potatoes the first year, had some leftovers of potatoes I missed the second year, and they're in that bed. And I throw all the compost after the potatoes are done. Some people say that you should rotate your planting. This is the only one that's 2 levels high. So I end up just like cutting a lot of that green stuff, throwing it in here, grass clippings if I have it, plants that died or whatever. As long as it's not a seed, I throw it in there. And then I compost back in our backyard. I throw stuff back there. This will also have the 2-foot chicken wire around it. See this, like yesterday I was here putting up these pieces of board, and a squirrel already came in and dug up one of these. I don't know what this is. This is onion. For some reason, they dig up my onions, but they don't want them. So these are all little onion seeds I got at Walmart. Just because I wanted to have the onions around to see if that would help deter some of the flying pests. And that's all garlic over there. And then I will grow, I'm going to plant beans. We're past the frost season. So I'm going to plant beans that, not bush beans, but pole beans. So I have bush beans on that side, and then I'll have pole beans on this side. And I need to find my beans that are the yard-long beans. And I also I think I ordered a little bit more of those. So once I transplant everything, then, well, actually I can put the screen up before I transplant. So I just need more screws. I put in, because I had it, 1.5 or 2 inch screws. So they stick out a little bit, because this is barely, I don't know if this is even, what is this? Maybe 3/4 of an inch or something like that. And I used these for my tomato plants before as stakes, but my tomato plants didn't do well. So the tomatoes that I will grow will go along the edge of this bed, because I have a big old 16-foot cattle panel, and I'll have some stuff to grow up in here. This thing I made the first year, and I did have some squash that was growing on there. So I'll need to actually get my squash kind of going too. And then I had transplanted some, there's a lot of weeds in here. This is a weed. This is the same plant as this thing here. So even though this had cardboard underneath, this particular part still had lots of weeds. And then there's this plant. This particular one, I just ruined it. There's a plant here that when I wasn't here for a while, it just kind of overtook my garden, where I ended up just having to pull a whole mess of, they were trees. They were basically like 3-foot, 4-foot trees in my garden. So these are all, this plant is I just know the leaf. That's why I know that these are or weeds. Sometimes you have to let the weed grow or the grass grow. I know this is grass, before you pull it to make and you also need to remember what you planted here. And because I just threw a bunch of seeds in just with the sense of like I need to get stuff in the ground. This particular plant here comes from a tree. It becomes like one of these big trees. I forget which tree this comes from. It's one of these tall trees. Very annoying. Anyway, so I did plant a bunch of flowers down here, and I knew that I need to build up the soil back here to put in the tomato plants. And that doesn't have any mulch on the top, but this I had already left grass and hay and straw, just to try to prevent a lot of these weeds. This one gets a ton of weeds. All right, so that's the update on plans, what I plan to do. So later on today, I will put up more fencing, and I also need to plant more seeds. I did get, oh, look at this dog. I did get more of the little trays to plant seeds, and got that from the dollar store, these little containers, and put holes in them. And this is what I, because we were out of state, living in a little townhouse, and I wanted blueberry plants 3 hours from here. I ended up buying these instead of little plastic containers, potting plants. This is actually pretty durable, and I just drilled holes underneath. And during this near summertime, probably right around now, dollar store has these, and you can just get all the same color, but I don't think they had all green. It would have been better if they were all green. Filled them up with potting soil and transplanted the blueberry plants that I got from Stark Brothers, and they lived in this for several months until we were able to travel again and come up here. And then I transplanted those plants. So the blueberries grew in there. I can also transplant tomatoes in there until they get bigger, and then transplant them. Because normally I buy those pots like this. The only thing about these are that they break down pretty quickly, and they take a lot of soil. So if you're limited on soil, or you have a hard time finding these, go buy those little buckets from the dollar store and use those. There's a lot of stuff that you can get at the dollar store that you can kind of mix up. We also save all these, I have my husband save all these plastic cups, and I used that 2 years ago for the tomato plants, and all of them caught, and all of them were growing very well. So I ended up giving away a lot of them. And then I got this, I think I got this from Aldi last year, and I ended up not using it because I didn't buy bare root strawberry plants, but they are supposed to come this week. Today is Thursday, maybe next week. Did I order them from Stark Brothers? I forgot where I ordered them from. So I should be able to put 2 bare roots in each, and there's 25 plants that are coming with it, and I think I ordered 2 different varieties of strawberries. So 1, 2, 3 with 3 each, so that's 9. So if I put 2 plants on each, that's 18 bare root plants that I can put in here, and then have it cascade down. I can put a little, like one of those black containers or something underneath it, and try to figure that out. I got other projects too. I still have this stuff here, and I'm going to I need to look for some metal. I might be able to see if I can find some used metal where I can paint it white to block up this side. And I did get some wood to try to build that frame, but we'll see about that. I also have this left over from a bed frame thing that we had, and I believe it's oak, although I see it kind of splitting in different places, and it is made by pieces of wood. It looks like little 1x1 pieces of wood that they just glued together. I also have our mailbox posts that fell down last year, and the whoever replaced it put this on the side of the house. I found it. So I'm going to cut off the bottom because that's the part that rotted. And I'm going to try and figure out how I can place it in the garden and use it as a crawly thing to go up. It looks nice. So I just need to make sure it can kind of fit here somewhere. But I'm probably going to have to bury it deep enough so that it doesn't fall over. All right. That's a long update, but that's a lot of the stuff that I'm working on for this project. And I'm just really excited about my cattle panel because this will turn into a what do you call that? I'm going to put plastic over it, and it's going to be able to grow the green vegetables and keep them going through the winter as we go into cold season come September, October, which actually time's flying by, so we're good. And I can talk about this particular thing. I don't think I did a video. This is a thing that I put on top of the SUV to hold water when we go kayaking and stuff.